Get almost anything you need delivered with Uber Eats. What do we mean by almost? Well, you can't get a well-groomed lawn delivered, but you can get chicken parmesan delivered. A little escape? No. A delicious bowl of grapes? Yes. Yes, that. An afternoon stroll? Sorry, no. A burrito bowl? Happily, yes. A day of sunshine? No. A box of fine wines? Yes. Uber Eats can definitely get you that. Get almost anything delivered with Uber Eats. Order now. Alcohol in select markets. Product availability may vary by region. See app for details.
Lowe's knows Sundays are for football, so tackle your home improvement projects by Saturday and earn your Sunday with great deals on LG and Bosch appliances, select Bounty and Swiffer cleaning products, and more. Then once your to-do list is done, get ready to kick back, relax, and enjoy the game. Shop in-store or online now and earn your Sunday with help from Lowe's, official partner of the NFL.
You're about to listen to the Late Round Fantasy Football Show, which originally aired yesterday on YouTube. If you'd like to catch it live, you can find it on the Late Round Fantasy Football YouTube channel at 1 p.m. Eastern every Friday during this 2025 season. That's on youtube.com/@LateRoundFF. So without further ado, here's this week's episode.
Welcome in. David Kitchen, a.k.a. JJ's number one COO, not JK, JJ. I got Broncos in the brain right now. JJ, how are you doing, though?
I mean, I'm all right. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I don't know how good this show is going to be today. I've been scrambling a little bit this morning. There's been other stuff going on. I got another show to do after this. I had to, at the last minute, you'll see in a minute, actually like 40 minutes, I had to change a bold prediction at the very last second. So my bold prediction kind of not fully there and fully developed. It was Kitchen literally heard me come up with it off the dome, like right before the show started.
There was some breaking news. And I was like, hey, you might want to change that. I said, you might need a bonus bold call. So maybe just leave it I
just deleted the other bold call and I switched it.
Okay.
Yeah. It's going to look, I'm just warning people that you come to late round fantasy football and expect X. Okay.
Yes.
Today might be X-1. All right. It might just be a little bit lower than what you're typically used to because I'm not fully there right now.
I will just say this, and not just because you're my boss, JJ, is that like you not fully prepared is still like light years ahead of most people, myself included.
That's super cute. All right. Now that everyone, it's kind of like you.
It's kind of like you putting out a poll yesterday, saying, "Do you guys like my callbacks or not?" Like you knew what the result was going to be.
I didn't know because I got an email from somebody. Just so you guys understand what we're talking about here. I got an email from someone that was saying you don't need to do the recap of the sleeper show where you talk about what you got right and wrong. It doesn't do us any good. Don't do it. It's not necessary. And so I'm like, I wonder if more people are feeling this way. I've gotten feedback the other direction, but like regardless, let's just do another poll and see what people think. And I think it's like 80-20 right now that people want me to keep.
Yeah. Pareto's principle. I think on Instagram, it was a little bit more than that. By the way, follow us on Instagram if you don't already. And speaking of feedback, we have a survey. So if you watch the show, you are automatically someone who we want to hear from. If you listen to the show as well, if you have purchased a prospect guide from us for the rookies and year two prospects, and if you are a Patreon member, any of those, if you fall in any of those buckets, the link is in the description, and we would love to hear from you. And as a reminder, this is an interactive show, so whether it be during the show in the comments or after the show, or on Spotify, if you're listening to this on a Saturday, we want to hear from you. Jeff says, can I get a virtual hug? Last week I played Kraft over Bowers and naturally played Bowers last night.
Yeah, Jeff, we love you, man. Yeah. We love you. Jeff, I hope you have the greatest weekend of all time.
Yeah.
And I hope everything goes your way.
There was a poll, an informal poll in the chat. Did you see this? Did you reply to it?
No.
Preferred method of greeting. When you greet somebody,
Okay.
Is it a handshake? Is it a hug? Is it a hey, how's it going?
Like it depends on who we know. If we know the person,
this would be a friend.
Oh, a friend.
Yes.
Usually a hug.
Yeah, that's what I said. And then everybody said like the handshake into a hug. You know, like the big dog.
Yeah, dap.
Yeah, the dap into a hug. But I said that falls into the hug.
But I probably, as I get older, I just more so just embrace the get in here kind of vibe, you know?
Full frontal hug. Right there with you. All right. Let's move on, JJ, because we have some stuff to talk about. Again, I just want to preface this by saying I don't want to talk too much about what happened last night.
No, we're going to talk about it.
Today's fantasy news.
Okay, we got a quick recap. You see, I have quick in all caps.
I mean, look, guys, I said this on Twitter in a response to somebody else, but I watched season 9 of Love is Blind, and I would rather watch Love is Blind 6 times on repeat without stopping without even food before I would watch that game again. That was just a beyond horrendous game between the Broncos and the Raiders. And I'm shocked by the poor performance of the entire Broncos offense. I thought Bo Nix looked like garbage. You see, he got player of the game. Bo Nix did.
Yeah, which is like,
I mean, he was so bad in that game. Yeah. I just don't understand.
Who would you have given player of the game to, though?
I don't know, Benito or something like that. Just someone on defense, like just, you know. But yeah, I mean, the Broncos backfield, J.K. Dobbins looked good. They just weren't getting any push on the offensive line when you thought that they would be getting push on the offensive line. And then, on the Courtland Sutton front, people are really frustrated. I do got to say, like, I am pretty happy with the analysis of that. Like I talked about on the 10 Trend show, Troy Franklin is getting more first reads in that offense. He's seen more looks in that offense. Do I think Franklin is straight up a better player than Courtland Sutton? I don't think we have that answer right now. I just don't think either of them are like the most reliable week in and week out. I just think Franklin versus the market is the much better value at this point, right? Because, even every week, like I rank Courtland Sutton higher than Troy Franklin, and I think he still should be ranked higher than Troy Franklin. But at the same time, at some point you got to just be like, okay, this is more of a coin flip. And when you look at rest of season rankings and what analysts and what other analysts are doing, what the market, quote unquote, market's doing, Courtland Sutton is I'm usually like 5 to 10 wide receiver spots lower than market with Sutton. And we're just seeing that happen more and more frequently. He's just a roller coaster. He's volatile. Yeah. And I do, this is kind of ranty, but I do think that this is sort of like what we're seeing with Rome Odunze, where the start of their season was really strong. And then you get this anchoring bias and you're like, oh, well, this is the way the season's going for Courtland Sutton. Clearly, like, he's having a good year. And, his end season stat lines and his points per game output might look fine. I'm not really denying that, but it's just this roller coaster, right? And you're starting to hit that roller coaster. It just so happens that some of the positive variants, some of the good stuff happened at the beginning of the season. And we got to not have those anchoring biases when that kind of thing happens, because then we're just blindly following these players into scoring, 7 PPR points. And it can really hurt our chances in fantasy.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned it. You were not that high preseason on Sutton compared to everyone else. You mentioned on the Trends episode this week, the flipping of Franklin versus Sutton.
Yeah.
So
and I do want to be clear. Like, the two players this season, and like, we don't need to spend a lot of time on this, but I think it's important from like a game theory perspective. The two like middle round wide receivers this preseason that I was kind of lower on and that people kind of questioned me for were Zay Flowers and Courtland Sutton. And the argument was not that they had a production floor. It was that they historically have not shown us a production ceiling. Now, I still like Zay. I had him as a buy a couple weeks ago, but he hasn't shown that's like, he hasn't scored since like week 1. And then Cortland Sutton is showing us that roller coaster. That's basically what I was trying to say, like in those blurbs and talking about those guys, is that when I'm drafting those middle round players, I really want the Emeka Egbuka type ceiling. The guys who can like completely change, George Pickens, the guys who can completely change, a fantasy team and like have these like crazy ceilings. And we're, I just don't think we're going to get that out of Cortland Sutton. Hopefully, cross your fingers, we get that from Zay Flowers down the stretch with Lamar back, and he's seeing a higher target share. But that's really just the logic behind all of that. I think we're seeing that come to fruition a bit.
Okay, and on the flip side, you got Brock Bowers goes from 40 burger last week to one catch for 31 yards last night. I haven't seen
like first read target share data or anything like that, which I've been using Fantasy Points a little bit more. They do a great job with their data. And the first read target share stuff is really interesting. And I know people were starting to use it last year a little bit more. I haven't dug into like the stickiness of it all quite yet, but regardless, I haven't looked at that data from last night. I don't even know if it's up yet. But it seemed like they were running like just I didn't, again, not looking at the data casually. It just seemed like they were running more 12 personnel because they don't have Jacoby Myers. So we're seeing a lot of Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers. And then it seemed like they were using Michael Mayer more than people expected. And that's not necessarily a great thing for Bowers, just because want the sole tight end to be out there more in an 11 personnel look, but we'll see. I gotta dig into it, and maybe I'll have it as a trend for next week's 10 Trends episode.
Yeah, they just didn't look like they were on last night at all. All right. Trade season was fun, I thought, this week.
It's all right.
You didn't think it was fun?
I'm going to say it was underwhelming mostly because every trade deadline is completely underwhelming in football and in the NFL.
Okay. So you were wanting to see like a Breece Hall trade.
I want, if Breece Hall were traded, then it would be a great trade deadline.
Yeah.
I think that Jacoby Myers and Rashid Shaheed were the two wide receivers that were definitely most expected to get moved. That like of the relevant wide receivers. Like I didn't buy.
Yeah, but did you expect Shaheed to get moved to the Seahawks?
No, I think the teams that they landed on were a bit of a surprise. But in hindsight, they both make sense to me.
Yeah.
I talked about this on Perspectives with Jim Coventry, which just dropped. But I think that Jacoby Myers in Jacksonville gives them a lot of versatility at the line. He can play inside out, and it allows them to not have to necessarily have Parker Washington parked in this one spot, if you will. In the slot, they can move him a little bit. They were moving him outside more frequently earlier in the year, but then, last week we saw him play that slot role. But they need a better, more, well-polished wide receiver to be able to play that role, because it's a very important one in that Liam Cohen offense. So I think that's good for Jacoby Myers and from like a fit perspective. And then with Seattle, the Rashid Shaheed move, I mean, you're pairing the quarterback with the highest average depth of target in football with a player that last year in that Clint Kubiak system had an 18.1 average depth of target. I mean, it's a match made in heaven. I think Shaheed is a very underrated wide receiver from like a real life perspective. There's a chance that he has some pretty big games from a fantasy perspective, but I do fear that it's a little bit better in just real football than fantasy football. It does hurt Torrey Horton. Hopefully they run a little bit more 11 personnel, but they're the second highest 12 personnel team in the league. Lots of heavy sets. And so, I don't know how frequently Rashid Shaheed's going to be on the field. I think he's good enough though that he could just be on the field as their number 2. So we'll see how it plays out. I think it's a great move for Seattle, who needed that sort of help and ammo to take the next step offensively.
Okay. What does this mean for Devon Bailey bags that I have in best ball?
Well, that you and I both have in best ball.
Yes.
Let's be clear. It is Devon Bailey season, as they say. He's going to get more run. I mean, I wish that Spencer Rattler was under center, but Bailey could see a 15 to 20% target share rest of season. I think that's in his range of outcomes.
All right, we can only hope. All right, I moved this one from the bottom to the top because we had some questions in chat. Already people are asking. The headline is Tedorero because we had him pop up on an injury report today, not practicing. He's questionable with a hammy issue.
Not good. Not good. I mean, as the
never good when someone pops up on a Friday practice report as injured.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a situation where they are playing it safe, but it I'm going to lean more that it's a scarier situation. Now, it brings us to an interesting dilemma now, because hypothetically, the way the Panthers wide receiver room kind of works out, you got Tedero McMillan and Xavier Legette as both perimeter wide receivers. And sorry, I was reading chat and it got me distracted. I need to not read chat while I'm talking. You got Tedero McMillan and Xavier Legette as the perimeter guys. And then in the slot, you got Jalen Coker has been playing a lot in the slot as he did last year. You have Jimmy Horn, who will play in the slot quite a bit. Hunter Renfrow is still there. That's what their depth chart looks like. My opinion would be that, like, in this matchup in particular, New Orleans has been really good at defending the slot. So spoiler alert, the bold prediction that I had was about Tedero McMillan having a good week this week, because New Orleans is a team that does pretty poorly against perimeter wide receivers versus the slot. Now that's probably safer to say that it would be Xavier Legette. But the problem is that now you look at what they have outside of Legette if Tedero McMillan doesn't go. And I think Jalen Coker is just a better player than Xavier Legette is. And so if Coker then slots in, just think about how the rotation works at wide receiver when they're in 11 personnel or even 12 personnel. Jalen Coker is probably going to be on the field a lot more. And I think Coker's more talented than Legette. So I'd probably lean him maybe a little bit over Legette, but Legette's safer. But the thing is, I'm not really looking for safety when I'm talking about the Panthers wide receivers, because everyone has a floor of 0. You know what I mean? So typically I'm probably just going to chase upside a little bit. And I think Coker, who I see as the better player between him and Legette, I think Coker could be a player that we use this weekend. Legette's fine too. Like, I'm talking like back-to-back in my rankings type stuff, but it does elevate Coker because of the guys remaining. He's the one that would be most natural to play on the outside, in my opinion. So that's my general stance if Tet is out. But that's how important McMillan is to that offense, because look how bad that wide receiver room all of a sudden looks.
Jeff Mueller a few minutes ago said this will be the third time that Tedero McMillan has dealt with hamstring soreness and issues this season. August and preseason, week 4, and now sounds like he's more likely to miss week 10 than not. So yeah. There you go.
Really bad for my Kings Classic team that has Javonte and Mahomes on bye. And now
that's the thing.
Such a deep league. It's so hard to fill in.
The week 10 buys. I've got a few teams with actually 2 dynasty teams that have Lamb and Chase on them. Brag, but brutal week this week.
Brutal week with Cincinnati and Dallas out. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the next one. James ready to cook. So as far as like running backs go, people were rushing to pick up Ray Davis this week. Then they went to Tank Bigsby when Saquon was out. It sounds like both these guys are good to go this week.
Yeah, I'm just going to say start as usual for both of them. I think that I was kind of interested to see what would happen if James Cook were out, just because I don't think anyone has like a clear grasp on what that backfield split would look like between Ray Davis and Ty Johnson. But I was more in the Ray Davis camp. So if this happens and pops up again in the future, go after Ray Davis. In my opinion, he's more of that like early down guy, and Ty Johnson would probably steal some looks through the air, and also see like a 20 to 30% running back rush share probably. And then obviously it's kind of the same scenario for the Eagles. Like they would split that backfield up with Tank Bigsby, Will Shipley. But yeah, it sounds like Barkley's good to go, and we should be fine. And by the way, this is not on top. This is not the same, not to get off topic, but you mentioned CeeDee Lamb and Jamar Chase being out this week. And I answered a mailbag question this week about Rome Odunze and how he was ranked as like a low end wide receiver 1 for me. I do want to be clear that when I talked about the tiers, because I redid my rankings after I've done that, like did that show, because there was news and I, update my rankings on Thursday nights. And there's just a giant tier for me from like wide receiver 9 to wide receiver 20 this week, or 19 or something like that. So like we'll get to that a little bit in the main event now that I'm remembering. But
yes,
just so that everyone's clear, like that's where that stance really comes from, is that I generally see like Odunze could be ranked all the way down to that like wide receiver 19 range. Which is why it's really important if you're looking at my rankings, for anyone that's a subscriber, like look at the tiers. The tiers are more important, arguably, than the solo ranking that you're seeing.
Okay, speaking of tiers, those that had Jaden Daniels are crying tears, and so is CJ Stroud owners, especially in Superflex leagues. Both those guys out. this week. So we have a few backup quarterbacks. One that we're used to, Marcus Mariota. One we've seen in the past with Davis Mills.
My response to this is Daniels' comeback. Did you see the Jaden Daniels report today where Rap Sheet and others said that the elbow injury isn't as bad as they initially thought? Tendons are apparently like okay, and they haven't put him on IR yet, Jaden Daniels. So I will say, I don't think that he is going to be back soon, but I have to throw out there, I'm in a short bench super flex league, and a league mate dropped Jaden Daniels in that league.
Ooh.
And I picked him up and just stashed him on IR because he's listed as out. And I'm sure that the manager who did that didn't have IR spots available, so they just had to do that. But I don't think it's a bad idea if Jaden Daniels is out there to just stash him, just to see. Okay. Not on your bench. I wouldn't use a bench spot necessarily in a non-super flex. But if you have an IR spot, go for it.
Okay, BTJ OUT. He's out this week. We kind of knew this was going to happen, but curious as your thoughts on how quickly Jacoby Myers gets implemented.
I think he's going to have to be like pretty quickly, just given their situation at wide receiver. But mentioned this on the sleeper show this week. Parker Washington will probably play a pretty big slot role. Liam Cohen literally came out and said that Parker Washington would play the slot role because it's easier for Jacoby Myers to learn the outside stuff, while he's getting acclimated to the offense. When we say slot and perimeter, it's not 100% of both. I mean, these guys move inside out. Like even Parker Washington, he's only been above a 50% slot rate in 2 games this year. He's barely above it last week. It's not like he was playing like a Josh Downs or Jaden Reed type role in that Jags offense. But with that being said, I do like Parker Washington most of that group, because if you look at Houston, they're worse at defending slot, middle of the field stuff than they are in the perimeter. And I'll just lean on that a little bit. Not only that, but Trevor Lawrence is going to have to get rid of the ball quick when they play a team like Houston, and those lower A dot looks are probably going to benefit a guy like Washington more.
All right. News out of New England that it might be Hendo season part 2.
Yeah.
Andre Stevenson likely being out.
You know what? I'm excited. That's my reaction.
Were you nervous last week?
I was very nervous last week. Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was sort of like a make or break. Like if Travion Henderson went out and was like really bad last week, it would have been a really bad situation. But I thought he was solid. He's not a between the tackles behemoth, but he's fine enough. They got him in space. He had like a 21% target share last week. Like that is the kind of usage last week that I thought Travion Henderson would just have this year, right? And then if you have that kind of usage in a full PPR league, you're going to score long touchdowns every once in a while, maybe some within the green zone. He saw some snaps in the green zone. It wasn't just Terrell Jennings. And then all of a sudden you're like, yeah, like he could have had a decent ceiling this season if that was his role. And I'm not anticipating this necessarily being his role when Ramondre Stevenson's back, but he had a great snap share. I do think that Terrell Jennings is still going to be involved in this offense, at a decent clip on early downs and on the ground. But it's good to have a player that can see 50 to 60% of the team's running back rushes, if not more, and then have 20% target share upside like that. Those peripherals yield RB2 results very, very consistently. So I'm into Travion Henderson. It's a really good game environment as well.
All right, Booty, rocking nowhere this week. He's going to be out. Did you see that he posted in his Discord? Like he's got his own Discord.
Oh, I love that. Don't you love that?
And he posted that he's got a grade 1 hamstring.
I want to join Kayshawn Booty's Discord.
Yeah, okay.
I really should just join his Discord.
You should.
I'm assuming it's
what is Kayshawn Booty's Discord? Like, what is it? I wonder what it's called.
I don't know, but
there's lots of possibilities.
Lots of possibilities with that last name. But I think he's a gamer, and that's where the Discord comes into play, is because he's a gamer. So
like video games, not during games.
Well, he's a baller too. Yeah,
he's a baller. Yeah.
I'm putting Kyle Williams season. I'll talk about him later though. Okay, we'll talk about him later.
Yeah, I mentioned him on the Swolecast and got laughed at.
Did you?
Laughed at? Yes.
I found it really interesting that the response to Kayshawn Booty being out has been Demario Douglas. Like that's the way. Like, if you even look at projections, people are going towards Demario Douglas. The reason I'm not going that direction is because he only ran 13 routes last week. And the people who stepped in more of that one-to-one boundary replacement role with Booty were Mac Hollins and Kyle Williams. They both ran 20 routes. So I'm going to go with the players that I think are going to be out on the field more. Could Demario Douglas have a good game? Of course. I'm not saying that at all. Like, he could easily outscore those guys. But if you're telling me that they're going to run like 30% more routes than Demario Douglas will, then we should probably lean the guys who are going to run more routes.
Okay, Cedric Tillman and Harold Fannin, both questionable for week 10, but Harold Fannin was practicing in the rain today.
That's very good news for Harold Fannin's mother, who we adore, right? I mean, it's good. Like, I think if he's out and Njoku's like a low end tight end 1 type, but if he's in, then I like Fannin more than Njoku, just given the kind of usage we've seen from him before their bye. Cedric Tillman being back is pretty interesting too, because I kept every data dump when he was active. I would always have like here's how Cedric Tillman's been doing against Jerry Jeudy their last X number of games. And it's always Cedric Tillman outperforming Jerry Jeudy over and over and over again. I'll talk about Tillman maybe as a look ahead waiver wire option. I will be. You will be. Spoiler alert. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like, I think it's just good news for the team all around. They need another presence there. And honestly, at this point, I think we should just say it can help Jerry Jeudy, because anything, I think, at this point can help Jerry Jeudy. He's been horrible this year. Terrible. Like, in DFS terms, if you're under 4K, generally you are not like a very good wide receiver. This week he's 3,900. Yeah. Like, that's just crazy. Yeah. They're just, it's a social experiment. And you still don't want to use them. Right. It's a social experiment to see how cheap he would have to be to get you to play him. Yeah. All right. It's a good spot on paper for him, though. Like, I'm not going to be surprised if one of the Browns wide receivers has a decent game this week. Okay, we got one more. It was put in the actual news or the NFL news and rumors actual channel on Discord. But Bears hot hand running back approach. This is what they said. What Ben Johnson said on the Bears running back workload. I believe in a guy having the hot hand. One guy, if he's feeling it and giving us a spark, we might lean on that a little bit longer. Yeah, I'm not surprised by that. Yeah. I said this on Perspectives. I'll say it again. I think Kyle Monangai, he looks like one of the typical day 3 running backs who steps in, is decent in fantasy football because of opportunity, and then future years we're like, hey, remember Kyle Monangai? Like the way that we look at Dameon Pierce and these types of players that don't have necessarily like locked in starter roles. But look, because he's not much of a pass catcher. So DeAndre Swift is going to have that kind of role. And this is what's really important. I talked about this over the summer with Coach Speak, okay? Where Coach Speak, and they talk about splitting backfields, they don't think about the receiving work when they say that. They go back to Tank Bigsby, Coach Speak, go back to Jordan Mason, Coach Speak. It's all about who's going to see the carries. And then beat writers, they're all like, oh, it's going to be more of Jordan Mason's backfield because he's going to see more of the carries and Tank Bigsby's going to see. But guys, in fantasy football, it's a different game, okay? What matters more is the receiving work. And DeAndre Swift is going to see that receiving work. I can almost guarantee you, 95% chance that DeAndre Swift has more routes run than Kyle Monangai this week, right? The difference is that Monangai could now see more work on the ground, which is still very valuable, especially in a good matchup. Monangai now has back-to-back games. I mean, the Bears in general, but obviously Monangai started last week against the number 1 and number 2 best opponents for running backs by adjusted points allowed. So he goes up against Cincinnati. He dominates. Now he gets the Giants. Even with DeAndre Swift active, Monangai can be a usable flex this week. So I'm not surprised by the comments, but just keep in mind that when coaches and when beat writers and whomever is talking about, when they're talking about a backfield, they're almost always talking about the rushing role, but that's actually not what's most valuable from a fantasy perspective. All right. Jeff was at the expo and he missed it, I guess, beginning of the season. He said, I was there. How did you pick Harold Fannin's mom out of the crowd? So just the quick TLDR is that there was a Browns game that night. So there was a Browns watch party. It was the first one. It was the first one for the Browns. Yeah. There was a Browns watch party there at the same time that we were there for the Pro Football Hall of Fame Fantasy Football Expo.
And I asked her if she was also an Ohio State fan. She said no, Bowling Green. And then his cousin said, yeah, her son played for Bowling Green.
And we all knew.
And so that was a dead giveaway. Dead giveaway to anyone that was in that crowd. If it was just a normie fantasy football crowd, if it was like in your home league, probably wouldn't have said, oh, son played for Bowling Green State. But like people that
they found the one spot on the planet where everyone knew who Harold Fannin was. Yeah.
Yes.
And then that's when I'm coming out of the bathroom or something, or I was just at the bar and the kitchen's like, JJ, get over here. It's Harold Fannin's mom.
Yeah,
and then that's
so
where
excited.
Yeah. And then I'm like, oh my God, it's Harold Fannin's mom.
Honestly, now that I'm thinking of it, would be a great thing for Bob or whoever to put someone's relative of a prospect in the crowd and let people figure out who it is. Like who among us. Yeah.
It'd be great.
Is a prospect person. All right. Good stuff there. I think it's time to move on now.
The late round main event.
Nationwide is so much more than a great insurance company. They're one of America's largest financial services companies. Like how I'm more than just Peyton Manning. I'm also motivating Manning. When I say insurance, you say financial services. Insurance.
Financial services.
Insurance.
Financial services.
Now when I say Nationwide, you say is both. Nationwide.
Is both.
Nationwide.
Is both.
For your insurance and financial needs, Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Investment Services Corporation, member FINRA, Columbus, Ohio.
Whether you're gearing up for a big event, kicking off a new campaign, or suiting up your team, the right promotional products can move your brand down the field. That's where 4imprint comes in. With thousands of customizable options like premium apparel, drinkware, tech, totes, and more, it's easy to score fan favorites to carry your message into the end zone. You can personalize it all. Your logo, your look, your game plan. And with many items offering no setup charge, you're ready to capitalize on every opportunity. Looking for a strong value play? 4imprint delivers standout options at every price point, so your brand can go the distance. You'll also get expert support, speedy delivery, and their 360-degree guarantee, so you can be 4imprint certain your order arrives exactly right on time. Whatever your goal, 4imprint helps you execute the perfect promo play for the win. Explore the possibilities today at 4imprint.com.
4imprint for certain.
We're actually on today's data.
Yeah, I knew that.
Today's data.
Boom. Nailed it.
You warned people, though, at the beginning.
I did. I told you it was going to be a bad show today.
Yeah.
So now we know. I just thought it was going to be because of me.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Wherever you are, I am too.
I just wanted to share this chart because I kind of talked about this on the mailbag. I did talk about this on the mailbag episode that dropped today about stashing defenses, and everyone, I mean, you've seen it, Kitchen, like on Patreon and on the live streams and in the Discord, everyone's asking which defense.
I will say the thesis of it is that they want whatever edge they can get.
100%. I get the reasoning behind it. And there are going to be look, I'm in some leagues that are very deep where people are rostering multiple defenses where that is a logical thing to say and ask. But I know that the majority, like 95% plus of people asking, are in a normal 12-team league where you don't need to stash a defense because you're much better off stashing, I don't know, Blake Corum if a Kyron Williams injury happens or something, knock on wood. So, with the defensive stashes, this is a piece of, so every week I send out a data dump spreadsheet to all patrons. Okay. And you guys can get that. You can actually get that in the Explorer tier, which is the cheaper tier of the two, over on, just go to lateround.com and click Patreon. But in this, I have a playoff schedule tab now that I started this week, and that I do every year, but I didn't want to introduce it until it was necessary. So someone asked for it, so I introduced it. And this playoff tab shows all positions, so quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and defense. And then their opponents in week 15, 16, and 17, and the number of points per game those opponents allow versus expectation and adjusted fantasy points allowed. So for Arizona's, so I'm showing defense right now on the screen. So that means Arizona's defense in week 15, they get a team, an opponent that has been 1.43 points below expectation as an opponent, which means they're a bad matchup, generally bad matchup. I'm going to go right now. I don't even know who their opponent is. in week 15. But I'm looking right now, and it looks like it is the Houston Texans as a shockingly, actually, not great opponent on paper, just based on how they performed this year. But you can still say, okay, that's a decent opponent. And then you look at week 16 and 17, decent opponents overall for Arizona. They have an average of minus 0.11, a median of 0.08, and a rank based on that median of 13th. So they have the 13th best schedule in the fantasy playoffs, is what that means.
I do know week 17.
We know those off the top of our head.
It's Cincinnati, yeah.
Cincinnati, that's right. And then Atlanta. Who does Atlanta get week 17, you remember? Isn't it the Rams?
It might be the Rams. Sometimes I get 2 years ago
I
mixed up with last year. It's a Monday night game.
Yeah, Baltimore, Green Bay, Buffalo, Philly, Carolina gets don't tell me, the Seahawks. Yeah, I remember those schedules. That's best ball brain for those of you guys who don't know what we're talking about here.
Right.
But yeah, so the one team, look, if you want to stash a team that is readily available, especially because they have a tough matchup this week that you're probably not going to play them, Tampa Bay in the 3 games in the fantasy playoffs, they get the Falcons, Panthers, and Dolphins. Okay. I mean, the Saints and then they face the Saints the week before that. I was going to say the Saints also have a pretty good schedule, but they're not as good defensively or as reliable defensively. But they get the Tampa Bay gets the Saints the week before that. So from weeks 13 through 17, they have an unbelievable schedule. So I can't deny that. If you want to do it, if you want to act on that, feel free. But this is the kind of information that you can get with that spreadsheet.
Yeah, I will go a step further and say, if you've already locked up your bye for that first round,
ignore week 15.
Ignore week 15 and look for week 16. And there's a team by the name of the Kansas City Chiefs that has a pretty scrumptious week 16 matchup.
They have
who they play?
It is it's the number one opponent, it looks like, based on the sheet. Is it Tennessee?
It's the Titans.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, the Titans are allowing 4.3, according to this sheet that I copy and pasted into the spreadsheet. They're allowing 4.3 points per game more than what their opposing defenses have typically scored. So if the Chiefs are averaging 8 points per game as a defense, that means that they're going to score 12.3 points per game when they face Tennessee. That's what these numbers mean.
Right. So we're saying don't do it, but if you do, that might be where you need to go.
Yeah.
Hey, are you ready for the next one?
Oh yeah, I haven't heard this segue yet. Let's hear it.
The late round main event.
All right, let's get to players as you like more than consensus this week. Starting with Grandma Goff.
I kind of regret having Goff here because of the way my tiers are set up. There's really no quarterback that I love a lot more than consensus this week. He's just the one that was ranked a certain way. And really, I'm going to flip-flop, I think, him and Sam Darnold later, either today or sometime this weekend. So then both of them will be 2 spots above consensus, technically. So just take all this with a grain of salt. I know that I talk about players I like more than consensus in this part of the show. This is not really one of those instances, but I don't mind Goff, right? He right now the Lions have, I know I'm just going back and forth. I'm basically saying, hey guys, if he has a great game, remember I called him out on the show. If he has a terrible game, don't blame me. Don't blame me. No. I think he's a QB1 this week. They have a implied point total above 28. Washington's the 7th best matchup for quarterbacks by adjusted points allowed. They're also allowing 21 passing yards over expected per game. I think the biggest fear with Goff is that this is a game that's not indoors. If he doesn't perform this week, there's a chance that I'm going to have him as like a hold on 15 transactions because of the dome stuff that I talked about in the 10 trends episode. Which
I thought was good. I thought it was a good trend.
That was a fun one, right?
Yes.
It was one that I didn't
really think about.
Yeah, one that I don't really do. It was just one that I kind of saw was happening. I'm like, oh, this is kind of crazy. Like they literally, the final 6 weeks of the season, fantasy season, they only play in domes. And we know that Jared Goff is better, at home and in a dome than he will be outside. All right, running back. I have Quinshon Judkins 2 spots above consensus this week. The Jets don't have Quinnen Williams, as we know. They also don't have Sauce Gardner, which is going to make their defense just worse in general. The Jets were already a decent matchup for running backs. They ranked 15th in adjusted points allowed. There's actually a decent pace score in this game. Now, part of that has to do with the fact that these teams aren't very good. And that's not adjusted for game script. So take that with a grain of salt. But I do think Judkins, in this spot where the biggest worry for Quinshon Judkins is going to be game script every week, right? Because he's not their 2 down or 2 minute back and their third down back. But this is a game where it's probably gonna be pretty close because both teams are terrible. So
yeah, tied for lowest total of the week, but the Browns are favorites, 2.5 point favorites.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So I like Judkins. I think Judkins could actually. There's a chance he smashes this week. It's a good spot for him. I think for the record, as an aside, I think Judkins is a general buy candidate right now. Like he was, I have more than 15 transactions every week, and I just kind of whittle it down to get to the ones that I really want to talk about. Yeah, Judkins was this close to being a buy candidate.
Okay, I put this guy on the cover because I saw that you were so high on him compared to the consensus. You have him all the way up at wide receiver 10 compared to the consensus wide receiver 20. Wow.
This is the giant tier I was talking about, Mr. Kitchen, earlier on in the show, where I don't think there's much of a difference between him to the wide receiver 19. But even still, wide receiver 19 is higher than wide receiver 20, which is where he's being ranked right now. So I'll throw it out there. Garrett Wilson. I hate this game from a scoring standpoint, so it's kind of crazy that I have Judkins and Garrett Wilson both listed here. But
a little preview of the quad box, I think.
Yeah, definitely not putting the Browns and Jets in the quad box. But here's the thing. Both offenses will funnel a lot of looks to both of these guys, which is why I like Judkins this week. And then Garrett Wilson, man. I mean, I people are hesitant to rank him high, obviously, because situation's not that great, but he has a 37% target share per game rate this year. He has 8+ targets every single game. And when you get into that tier 2, you have those really volatile wide receivers where you're just like, I mean, this guy can give me 5 targets or 15 this week. Whereas Garrett Wilson, we know, has this floor of at least getting you 8 targets. And Cleveland has been much better against the run and running backs. They rank 31st, or the second worst matchup for running backs this year. They're average against wide receivers and adjusted points allowed. And that's despite the fact that they're often facing positive game script. There's not as much volume, against them because they're usually the ones that are trailing. So I like Garrett Wilson. Like, I think he's a good player. He's seeing a high target share. That's really what we all could ask for. Like the one way that Garrett Wilson worked out this year was if he was seeing target shares like this, and he is seeing target shares like this. So we should just continue to ride that.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago, the Jets and Browns were the Week 17 matchup.
Yeah, Joe
2023.
Flacco.
Right.
Yeah.
And the lore of Joe Flacco, he had over 300 yards. And Njoku went off. Breece Hall went off on the other side.
Yep.
We thought this was going to be this low team total. And
it's for best ball.
Yeah, and it smashed. So you just never know. You never know with these games. So you could be right. This game could smash. All right.
It's gonna smash.
No, you already said it. Too late to take back. You've got Cardio Cade Otton as your tight end 14 compared to tight end 16.
Yeah, 22% target share over his last 3. There's a high team total. There's a high game total, potential shootout against New England. And New England as a matchup is just like pretty much neutral. Like, it's a very average matchup for tight ends. They do target them, or opponents target them at a pretty decent rate. So I think he has at least a floor, and you can't say that about a lot of tight ends.
Okay. All right. Let's get on to the bold predictions for week 10. And after seeing the analysis for this bold prediction, I have to say I am fully on board. You've got Jackson Dart overall QB1.
I made this up literally 90 seconds before the show started. Okay. So if Jackson Dart is
just to be fair, this is where Tedero McMillan was going to be a top 10 receiver this week.
That's right. Yeah. Jackson Dart gets Chicago. Chicago's a favorable matchup for quarterbacks. Jackson Dart averaging over like 22 fantasy points per game in his starts this season. I like the matchup a lot for the fact that Chicago doesn't defend the middle of the field all that well. And that's where we often see the Giants and Dart, attack based on their personnel because they have Wan'Dale Robinson and Theo Johnson. I don't mind Darius Slayton this week either, but I think there's a chance that this game shoots out, and I think there's a chance that Jackson Dart just has a monster game.
Nationwide is so much more than a great insurance company. They're one of America's largest financial services companies. Like how I'm more than just Peyton Manning. I'm also motivating Manning. When I say insurance, you say financial services. Insurance.
Financial services.
Insurance.
Financial services.
Now when I say nationwide, you say is both. Nationwide.
Is both.
Nationwide.
Is both.
For your insurance and financial needs, Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Investment Services Corporation, member FINRA, Columbus, Ohio.
Whether you're gearing up for a big event, kicking off a new campaign, or suiting up your team, the right promotional products can move your brand down the field. That's where 4imprint comes in. With thousands of customizable options like premium apparel, drinkware, tech, totes, and more, it's easy to score fan favorites to carry your message into the end zone. You can personalize it all: your logo, your look, your game plan. And with many items offering no setup charge, you're ready to capitalize on every opportunity. Looking for a strong value play? 4imprint delivers standout options at every price point, so your brand can go the distance. You'll also get expert support, speedy delivery, and their 360-degree guarantee, so you can be 4imprint certain your order arrives exactly right on time. Whatever your goal, 4imprint helps you execute the perfect promo play for the win. Explore the possibilities today at 4imprint.com.
4imprint for certain.
Okay. Next bold prediction does have some analysis. We talked about him. A Kyle Williams breakout game. I would love to see this.
The Kyle Williams breakout game out of nowhere. But we do have Kayshon Boutte banged up. I talked about this earlier, right? Demario Douglas only had 13 routes last week. Mac Hollins and Kyle Williams tied at 20, and then Stephon Diggs had like 29. So I think Diggs could actually, feels like no one's really talking about Diggs having, being in this, insane spot this week, because you don't have Kayshon Boutte. Tampa Bay's a good matchup. They've allowed 23 passing yards per game over expected. They're fifth in adjusted target share allowed to wide receivers. So it's a defense that gives up a lot through the air, and then also teams are attacking them via their wide receivers. And so I think this is an opportunity for Kyle Williams, who earlier this week we heard New England. Now, when coaches say this guy's going to have more opportunity, especially New England, they could just mean that he's going to see, 20 routes again, like he did last week. And his route share is going to be 60, 65% and not 80%. And New England does rotate their wide receivers. But I just think Kyle Williams is a much better wide receiver than Mac Hollins is at this point. And Demario Douglas is a completely different kind of wide receiver than both of them. And Demario Douglas only saw 13 routes last week. So I'm bringing this all together and saying I like Stephon Diggs, don't get me wrong. It's just this combination of Drake May and a really good rookie route runner and Kyle Williams. What if the magic hits this week and we get a breakout? And by breakout, I'm talking maybe a 60, 70 yard game, something like decent that we're oh, he's going to be on top of waiver wires next week, or one of the guys that we're going to be adding.
Okay. Let's get to the look ahead waiver wire now. Yeah. You've got Geno Smith on there. That's assuming he's healthy, right?
Yeah, I had that last night. And I guess I didn't really update
People
it.
posted in the chat that if that was Patrick Mahomes on that late hit,
probably.
Yeah, they said firing squad is exact words, which might be a little harsh, but yeah.
I just added another one too. But we'll get to that in a second. So yeah, the only reason I had Geno on there is because they get Dallas. He does get a 10-day rest, and it's a quad injury that I think Jeff Mueller was saying it's more of a pain thing. So it's not the end of the world for Geno. They get Dallas though next week.
It's so a Charlie horse.
Yes. Marcus Mariota gets Miami next week, so that's a good matchup for him. And then JJ McCarthy gets Chicago. That's a good matchup for him. Kyle Williams, I just talked about. Jalen Lane, I talked about this on the Sleeper Show. I think Lane is probably the Commanders wide receiver that I would prefer just for upside purposes, even though I think he's more redundant to Deebo Samuel than the other guys are. I just think Chris Moore is he's a veteran that we kind of know what he's about. Luke McCaffrey's now out for the year. Maybe your boy Treylon gets some work this week.
It's Trey Lynn.
Whatever.
Yeah, just put some respect on his name. No one else.
The reason. So I care deeply about pronunciations
when they matter.
Yeah, we haven't heard about his name in 3 years. So why?
I know that's what I'm saying.
I'm not hearing that name all the time. Treylon Burks.
Treylon.
Sorry. But Jalen Lane, I think, is a little bit interesting. Go read the prospect guide and you'll see like some favorable numbers and metrics within that for his profile. I didn't mind him as like a gadgety kind of prospect. Christian Watson, 75% route share last week. They have a good schedule rest of season for wide receivers. They get the Giants next week. Matthew Golden's a little bit banged up.
No Tucker Kraft.
Yeah, no Tucker Kraft. Obviously, Jaden Reed's still out. So I think Watson is someone that everyone should be eyeing. Luther Burden. Olamide Zaccheaus has not been good this year. 1.29 yards per route run rate. Not a great yak per reception profile.
Can you tell Ben Johnson this? Can you just let him know?
Well, I mean, look, Luther Burden had a concussion last week, so he wasn't able to play. He was concussed the week before that, so he wasn't able to he's not been healthy for, in camp. So like that got things off to a slow start. I'm still a believer in the talent. I still think Luther Burden needs to be rostered in a lot of leagues as a stash. Cedric Tillman, we talked about earlier. He should be back this week, it sounds like. And I think he might just be better than Jerry Jeudy. Pat Bryant.
Yeah.
He had a 71% route share last night, which is good to see. I think he's looked good.
Almost had a touchdown.
He almost scored this past, last night. He had that big 43-yard gain. They just couldn't get anything going offensively. But I think Pat Bryant is another one of those rookie stashes, just guys that, do we think that Troy Franklin and Cortland Sutton are so much to overcome? Or if one of them get hurt, then all of a sudden you have a lot of opportunity for Pat Bryant in that offense. So I like him as a stash right now. AD Mitchell, let's just see what his snap share looks like and route share with New York.
For those that are under a rock, AD Mitchell included in a trade this week to the Jets.
Yeah, he was
just throwaway, basically.
It was AD Mitchell for Sauce Gardner was the trade.
Yeah, they're just like, AD Mitchell, take him.
They hated AD Mitchell. Yeah. It's so funny though, because AD was such a redundant piece to Alec Pierce, and I one of his comps in the Zap model was Alec Pierce, and it's so funny how they just went out and they got like Chris Ballard loves athletic wide receivers, loves them, and so he goes out, gets Alec Pierce a few years ago. Now he gets AD Mitchell, then he trades AD Mitchell. But the Jets don't have anything behind Garrett Wilson, so it's going to be interesting. And AD Mitchell has like some good separation scores and stuff. Like he can at least do that. It's just kind of bringing it all together. Blake Corum still only 10% roster, which is wild to me. He's probably a top 5 running back handcuff who's getting some work naturally too. Sean Tucker, because this Bucky Irving stuff keeps happening. This next one.
Yeah, we need to talk about this next one.
I don't know, man. Let's just have some
Sometimes
fun.
I feel like you just throw stuff in here just to get people's reactions.
So there was a transaction of Malik Turner for Dallas.
Right.
And I think it signals that Phil Maffa is ready to come back. Phil Maffa will not catch passes for you at all. But maybe there's a chance that he could step in and be the handcuff for Javonte Williams, who's played well on the ground. Javonte actually has been pretty bad as a receiver this year. Really low yards per route run rate. So I do think that like Jaden Blue would, if he were good, like if he were playing the way that they probably wanted him to play, it would have complemented Javonte Williams perfectly. And Phil Maffa is not that guy. So I think he's more of just a handcuff than anything else, but something to keep in mind for deeper leagues. Luke Musgrave, obviously, talked about him in the mailbag. I don't want to reiterate all of that. And then I just put the typical tight end twos, Mason Taylor, Theo Johnson, all the guys that I talk about on the show every single week.
Like good matchup guys.
Yeah. Kate Otten, guys who you can play if they're in a good spot. And then defenses for next week, Atlanta gets Carolina, and then Dallas gets Vegas. So I would like Atlanta more than Dallas because I just think they're a better defense.
Davey Cake says, don't be sleeping on Maffa. Listen, if Monangai can make it as a 7th rounder, maybe Phil Maffa can too.
Yeah, maybe.
It's just, I don't have any Maffa bags, so we can,
I think I said Malik Turner. I meant Malik Davis for the Cowboys before people hit the comment section and get mad at me.
Yeah, Malik Turner was a wide receiver. Wasn't Malik Turner a wide receiver?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, it's time to say goodbye. But before we do, we got to get to the quad box.
Okay, you're first. You're going first this week.
Yeah, we pick the games that we want to see. I'm just going to assume you're going to go with Browns and Jets, so I won't pick that. I will go with I think Ravens and Vikings could be a good game, so I'll pick them.
Okay, that wouldn't be my first, but I think that deserves to be in the top 4 probably. I think my first is Patriots Bucks. Lot of fantasy potential in that game. You get Mekka Buka is back this week because they're off their bye. Stephon Diggs, Travion Henderson, get to see what the Buccaneers backfield is up to. I think it should be a fun game.
Yeah. I will say the second highest over-under for the week, or tied for second highest, is Falcons and Colts in Germany. That's a trap game. Very rarely do these international games go off.
I'm really not happy. My guillotine team, I had J.K. Dobbins and Cortland Sutton last night, so I'm already off to a tough start. And then I have Drake London and Jonathan Taylor, and I'm like, this game, I need that game to be high scoring, and it's probably not going to be.
Yeah. I'll just go ahead and you know what? I'm actually not going to put Eagles and Packers. I'm going to go with Giants and Bears.
Yeah, Giants and Bears are probably my next one. It's just great for fantasy, but I will finish it with Eagles Packers.
Okay.
I think for the first time all season we picked the best 4.
Yeah.
Like these got to be the best 4.
Yeah, I feel like you're trying to indict me on something,
to be fair, the Titans are on bye. So.
Yeah, so you knew it was going to happen.
We picked the best.
I was pretty tilted this week that the Titans didn't trade Tony Pollard or Calvin Ridley. I wonder kind of we went through that phase of running backs don't matter. Yeah. And like running backs weren't getting paid.
I mean, they're still not getting paid that much.
Right. There were holdouts, but after Breece Hall and Tony Pollard don't get traded, it's just like maybe we're just back to running backs don't matter. Like no one's really wanting them.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Chiefs offered a 4th apparently. A 3rd is pretty rich for a guy that, you're going to have to re-up and they don't have necessarily all this money to do it. And then Tony Pollard, I mean, he's not been that impressive. Like Tajay Spears has outperformed Tony Pollard since he got back.
One could make the argument that it's for the Titans who have been pretty terrible this year, though, too.
Yeah, of course. So, I think Pollard is probably an upgrade over anything they have. I mean, definitely an upgrade over Ramondre Stevenson.
Right, but there was some chatter that the owner didn't want to trade.
Yeah,
because the whole Vrabel stuff,
which I think is awesome. I love pettiness storylines, which is why I probably should like the NBA more than I do. But I love like the soap opera storylines of the NFL.
Okay, comment of the show: Titans are bad. Yes.
Oh, are they? I didn't realize.
Yes, in any and all formats, ownership, drafting, season, whatever. Last night I was actively cheering for the Raiders because the girls always ask me when the game is on, like, who are you cheering for?
Yeah.
And so sometimes I'll say a team, sometimes I'll be like, I'm cheering for Bo Nix and Brock Bowers.
Just the players usually. Yeah.
Right. And last night I was like, we're cheering for the Raiders. We're cheering for whoever has the least number of wins.
Yeah.
So we can get that draft pick up.
Yeah. They almost did it. They could have easily won that game last night.
I know. If Titans get number 1 overall pick, which might happen, I might be via remote in Pittsburgh come this March.
Maybe I'll go up there for that first.
You need to. The first night. We could go on a Thursday night.
We could stay with my in-laws.
Yes. I'm not joking.
My parents don't live up there anymore. My in-laws do.
I'm not joking. We're part of the NFL Podcast Network now.
Yeah. Hey, look, if they can hook us up, then yeah, we'll figure. Not my in-laws. I mean the NFL.
Yeah, maybe we get to call it a pick. All right.
I should call in a pick.
Broncos fan here. Broncos also might be dead. All right. That's
Broncos are this year's Steelers. Like, the Steelers would start
Yeah, they're right. Yeah.
And everyone's like, they're not actually good. And that's what Denver is. Denver will make the playoffs. They'll be fine. Maybe they win a playoff game, but yeah, they're probably not as good as their record indicates.
Okay, that will do it for the Week 10 show, JJ. Just a note for people that have tuned in late via live, but we've got a survey. We'd love for you to fill it out. It's in the description. We've already had a lot of responses. from people primarily that are in the Discord. And we want to hear also from those that, you're just fans of the show. You're fans of the podcast. What would help you out as far as consumption goes? So fill that out, help us out, help yourself out. And JJ, do you have any final thoughts?
No, hopefully my brain was okay for you guys today, because
this was not a bad show. This was not a bad show.
I definitely entered the show feeling like a little mush, but
yeah, you reverse mushed it as far as like set the bar low.
Yeah.
Really low.
I think I should just set the bar that low every show I do.
That's right. This is going to be a terrible show.
Yeah. What's up, everyone? Another terrible episode of the Late Round Podcast.
Before we begin, I want you to lower expectations.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, JJ. Thanks to everyone that's tuned in live. Thanks to everyone that's going to be doing some sort of honey-do list on a Saturday that are listening to this. We appreciate you. We love you. And we'll see you back here, week 11 on the Late Round Fantasy Football Show. Peace.
Nationwide is so much more than a great insurance company. They're one of America's largest financial services companies. Like how I'm more than just Peyton Manning. I'm also motivating Manning. When I say insurance, you say financial services. Insurance.
Financial services.
Insurance.
Financial services.
Now when I say nationwide, you say is both. Nationwide.
Is both.
Nationwide.
Is both.
For your insurance and financial needs, Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Investment Services Corporation, member FINRA, Columbus, Ohio.
Get almost anything you need delivered with Uber Eats. What do we mean by almost? Well, you can't get a well-groomed lawn delivered, but you can get a chicken parm delivered. A little escape? No. A delicious bowl of grapes? Yes. Yes, that. An afternoon stroll? Sorry, no. A burrito bowl? Happily, yes. A day of sunshine? No. A box of fine wines? Yes. Uber Eats can definitely get you that. Get almost anything delivered with Uber Eats. Order now. Alcohol in select markets. Product availability may vary by region. See app for details. Get almost anything delivered with Uber Eats. Order now.